Welcome back. You're watching Sokoni here on Morning Prime. We continue pace with the conversation. This is the last leg of the show. And we have also a reaction here from George Orido, who's my fellow journalist, is saying, good morning, Ines. He is contributing to the issue of integrity. The problem with our value system is not our education, he says. He said it is lack of equity due to deficiency in integrity, where scarcity becomes the normal or the norm for the majority. Survival of the fittest becomes the norm. Finally, our brain drain is on a high, where the very best brains end up working out there, yet they're educated with taxes from Kenya. As a result, we don't get return to investment in our human capital formation. George Orido. Right, what do you think about that before we go to the next story? You agree with him, Dr. Shema Chodo?
I fully agree, Jabal. It's true. I think a few years back, there was a conversation in a room I was that we like giving donations to the developed world. You know, when you send some of your best brains to work in a developed world, it's true that was trained sometimes at very high cost with Kenyan resources. They get it for free. There needs to be some form of repatriation and giving back. I fully agree in that regard. But I'm also reminded 3 lessons I picked from my former boss, President Kagame. First one was, look at the big picture. And this reminds me of the mess that was being talked about in Darwa. He always said, look at the big picture. Don't pay attention to the small things.
Yes.
The second thing that I picked from President Kagame was sense of urgency. He kept saying Rwanda remained behind the world, that it had to move twice or 3 times as fast to get things done. Yes, in this particular regard, Debal, in terms of education and the value system, it should be inbuilt, but it starts from the top. And a clear example is the case of Tanzania with what Julius Nyerere did, you know, and part of it is similar to what Lee Kuan Yew also did in Singapore.
Right.
He built upon the premise of what he called MPC, merit, meritocracy. I could get personal, but I'll not get personal in this regard. You know, in a case where people are appointed by virtue of their second names, that becomes the qualifier of who you know. And this is why I was so glad to have met this Steve Maida. He has a story to tell. I was challenging him. He needs to write a book. When a minister then went with a list of 3 people, villagers, to be appointed, and President Kibaki, I understand, asked of this, tell me who is a qualified insurer. And then he simply crossed and said, go give this gentleman an office because he's got a track record in this sector. Merit, so meritocracy is key. Of course, for Lee Kuan Yew, he was also talking of pragmatism. You must also balance merit with pragmatism. So I agree with your colleague.
All right.
I think I disagree with him on one area. I don't think scarcity is what makes us lose values and integrity. There are very few people who are illiterate and who have not been to school who I find being mentioned among the public people or the public officers stealing money. Very educated people. In fact, most of the people who are in the rural areas, having never been to school, are very innocent. In fact, if you drop 1,000 shilling note in most rural areas, some people look for you. They want to keep it. They are very honest. But it appears when you go through school, some dishonesty seems to escape through somewhere. On brain drain, I think we don't value brains. That's why they go away. If you remember when World War II was coming to an end, and Americans and Russians were meeting in Germany, Russians were stripping factories, shipping them home. Americans were looking for German scientists. So they value scientists. They value brains. So if we don't value brains, they will go where they are valued.
They'll go where they're valued. Absolutely. Right. Let's see what is happening in the manufacturing sector, where manufacturers receive the largest share of loans disbursed by the Kenya Development Corporation, KDC, in 2023. Data from the state corporation shows it disbursed 1.14 billion shillings in low-cost loans last year. This amount was, however, only 28.6% of the 3.98 billion shillings the company had approved for lending during the period. KDC loaned 357 million shillings, or 31.3% of the total disbursement to manufacturers, while 205 million went to firms dealing in post-harvest loss management. Other top recipients of the parastatals funding were firms in the tourism sector, 213 million shillings, while the blue economy sector got 98 million shillings. Wholesale and retail firms received the least amount of funding from KDC during the period, amounting to just 13 million shillings, followed by energy firms at 15 million shillings and construction firms, which got 37 million shillings. KDC was established in November 2020 to merge the operations of the Industrial and Commercial Development Corporation, ICDC, Tourism Finance Corporation, TFC, and IDB Capital Limited. The company mobilizes resources for various sources for onward lending to firms at below market interest rates and longer repayment tenures, as opposed to other state-backed lenders. KDC focuses on lending to medium and large-scale industries. A brief from the parastatal shows that it has so far received $21 million, that is 3.37 billion shillings from the World Bank to support financial inclusion, $40 million, that is 6.42 billion shillings to support the livestock value chain, and $42 million, that is 6.7 billion shillings for greening business. This is where we should have had Bunyasi Sakwa, the chair of the Kenya Development Corporation, who slept through the alarm today. And he should have told us these eye-popping figures and monies that he has as well, what is happening.
A cock might be more effective in waking him up.
A cock than an alarm.
I can tell you.
Indeed. But let's just discuss that, and in light of what the Business Daily also was holding, I think, on Monday, where manufacturers check banks with 133 billion shillings loan defaults. We can see the lenders there, KDC giving these monies from the banks. This is the current state of play. And we can see banks are also raising the lending rates because of the high defaults that is happening currently. Let's just speak to it. The manufacturing sector is adversely affected, especially with the new taxes coming to bear right now. And most of them have given warnings that a lot of job losses will be realized this year.
There's even another one here. Look at what the brewery is doing.
Yes.
Borrowing.
The borrowing to
pay 24-hour
taxes. That is also affecting. Now they have to prepay. And you see, you have an invoice that you say you pay after 90 days or something. Like an arrangement with the suppliers. That is also affecting the EABL, the liquor sector as well.
You want me to start? You're looking at me.
Yeah, of course. If I look at you...
I was looking at some old data, I think from statistical abstract of 1955 to around 1959. And I was surprised that the contribution of manufacturing to GDP was about 8 to 11%, which we still have up to this day. So in the last 60 or 70 years, our manufacturing has not grown. So when I see that they are taking the biggest amount of loans from KDC, that's good news. It shows that they have the urge to develop. But the problem is the environment is not conducive to growth and expansion because the interest rates have gone up. So if the interest goes up, then your cost go up. But you can imagine you have borrowed a loan, the interest have gone up, but the taxes have not gone up. So you are willing to develop, you are willing to expand and create jobs for this country. Because I don't think there's any sector that creates more jobs than manufacturing. I know services are done very well, but that should be the anchor if you look at developed countries. So I think at the end of the day, we also have to ask ourselves, can we improve the environment, the ecology, so that manufacturers have it better? I saw a report, I think yesterday, and there might be some in today's paper, that some manufacturers want to leave. That instead of manufacturing your items or your product in this country, you just distribute. You can imagine the jobs that are lost in the supply chain. So I hope the government, as they think about raising taxes, they also think about the other side. Because taxes are paid by people who make money. So if they don't make money, you also don't make money. So let's not kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
Right. If we go back to a bit of history and you look in terms of even the start of the Vision 2030, manufacturing was actually given a priority among the economic pillar. You go to the Jubilee, the big four, manufacturing was there as a priority. You look at the current Kwanzaa government, is also SMEs now being given a priority because of the essence, how much they contribute to the economy. They do. In fact, if you look at the numbers, manufacturing is competing more than agriculture now. But he's right. From even the colonial times, we have never hit about more than 80%. And you have the data up to today. Now, when Jubilee was doing their manifesto, it was very clear, and I had the opportunity, actually, that time I was consulting for Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We came with then 10 points to jumpstart the economy in terms of manufacturing. And one of the things which came was power. It's not competitive in this country. Right. The same thing now we are doing a study to see where there are losses. Right? They say one of the things as manufacturers we're looking at is power, the cost of power. It's not competitive to us and even comparable to the region. Now, look at Ethiopia. If you're manufacturing in Ethiopia, you're paying like 5 cents. I am not sure. It's something perhaps you can manage. Here, you're talking about 15 or whatever cents. So that's one key thing. The other thing they looked at, and they were very clear, we're not looking for subsidy for minimum of government. We want predictive law. And I wanted to summarize with something here when we are, one of the daily newspaper, I don't know whether it's daily. It's daily, actually.
It's a China Daily.
It's China Daily. It's a very interesting article now that we are on day. And perhaps this would help us. What is that? The front page. They're saying more united enterprises have expressed confidence in Hong Kong's rule of law and its role as an arbitrator center, according to the survey. Go to the last but one paragraph on the first column, where I say senior company executives cited Hong Kong's distinctive positioning in the global market as a city judicial independence. Yeah? Look at an entrepreneur, a manufacturer, whoever. When I have my capital invested somewhere, even locally, I'm talking of even local manufacturers, they are looking for something here. They said they are looking for the city's judicial independence. Secondly, they are looking at the application of the common law and the legal practitioner professionalism, ease of enforcement, and clean government. Let me repeat the last one, and clean government. What is a manufacturer looking for? This manufacturer, that's what they're telling us. I want a law, and I had opportunity. One of the candidates who was going for the CJ position, I called and told him or her, one of the key things is, how do you make your law attract investors? How do you have determined it? And I can't answer this question, what's happening down manufacturing. It's all here. Hong Kong is getting, and they're saying we want to go to invest in the UK, in Hong Kong. I wish we could be, people say we won't go and invest in Kenya. Right. Because the law is being applied and the government is clean. That's it.
The BAL, of course, to be fair to Kenya, within East Africa,
So this is the U.S. company's confidence in the
in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong rule of law.
Yes.
What you're alluding to, executives say in a survey that they expect city to retain its position as an arbitration center.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Anybody in this country who has a good understanding of arbitration law goes to Hong Kong.
True. Sometimes we have to compare also mangoes with mangoes. Because I think there was a report to be
Do I hear Moi talking here? We are better than Somali.
No. I want to come and agree with the professor, but maybe if he allows me first to give the other side of the story, be the devil's advocate first. I think Kenya was reported recently somewhere, and I thought that was credible, that Kenya is one of the most attractive places to invest. But having said that...
The Africa Attractiveness Report by Anson Young. That is in November 2023.
Thank you, Debal. But also even in terms of political stability, even in the region where we live, I think to give ourselves some part, despite our turbulences in 2007, 2013, even the more recent ones where there were contested Supreme Court rulings and all, I think by and large we are reasonably a stable democracy. But having said that, the BAL, where I fully agree with my colleagues, is manufacturing companies have to be treated like gems. I think for now we are not treating them well. And again, it reminds me of this conversation we had with these specialists on money markets, one of them being a faculty from Strathmore Business School. And I must admit, by way of declaring interest, we are looking deeply into what products would be attractive to make diasporas invest more into Kenya. And this requires evidence-based research and creative, not idle minds. So hopefully we come up with solutions that will be acceptable. And part of a mistake I think Kenya government has made in the past, even when it came up with a diaspora board, we come up with products, I assume that the stakeholders, it will be good for them, instead of involving them in the thinking. Mm-hmm. But having said that, this professor we were talking with did say, look, while we are exporting labor, you go to our shelves in the supermarkets, you get everything from either Dubai or from South Africa or from next door. You know, we're not manufacturing. So we are busy importing products while even as we export labor. And he was even putting a challenge to the diasporas. Let them not come back and just play the same league like the rest of Kenyans at home are doing. Bring back the new ideas, the creative ideas that's happening out in terms of knowledge transfer, knowledge management. So the BAL, I think in terms of creating incentives for the manufacturing sector as a top priority, and it's good, yes. I think the current government, the big five, if I call them, number one being the food security, goes together with value addition. If we were honest, we don't just pay lip service to the manufacturing sector, we would go a long way. We would create also jobs here, and then we would be getting more value from our products, whether it's tea or culture or coffee or even milk. So I fully support the demands and the proposals by Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Mm-hmm.
Maybe to add to what you're saying, the same newspapers we are looking at today, somebody is threatening people here that contractors who abandon project sites will be deemed to opposition sympathizers. Eh?
Yes. We discussed a bit about it. Yes.
So if I was an investor
surely, yeah,
coming to manufacturing and I see such things, I would be very much put off. So the rule of law is very important, the soft issues. But I think apart from power, the other thing that hinders manufacturing is we don't have the skills in that area. If you look at China or India or Japan, most of the students graduating from universities are in STEM. In Kenya, 75% are in social sciences. So to spur manufacturing, we just not need
77%.
75% social sciences. So we need more scientists, engineers, and so on to spur that. But we also must remember what he's saying. Why are we importing things? Because we perceive our local products as low quality. So we must improve on our blending, on quality, so that whatever we manufacture can be exported. The population of Korea is like Kenya, but they're able to export all over the world. So let's improve on quality, brand recognition, and make sure that the environment is fit for those who want to manufacture.
You know, there's a saying in town, if you go to the kitchen, it's a Samsung. You go to the TV, it's a Samsung. The fridge is a Samsung.
Right.
They have replaced all the Sanyo we used to have. Right?
That's true.
And that's right. That was the whole idea of bringing this guy from South Korea in the NESC. And Kibaki was very clear. And by the way, I met Francis Mudaura about 2 Saturdays ago. A very clean man. He's amazing. He's just walking comfortably, despite being given a responsibility to be the chancellor at Kenyatta University. And he was saying, what is this you people did in Korea? Yes? And he said, one of the things we did, and we saw it, somebody came here, he was given a 21 gun salute. After a few months, he was in jail. Remember the president? There was somebody who was in jail.
Yeah.
Yes, we follow the law. And we make it work. And And with David Coe is also from Singapore. They really steered in terms of that. But as maybe about the manufacturing, it's somewhere you are manufacturer today, you feel sad. I was actually sharing with some people. Today I'll be really, I think I would go to a depression if I was working for government today. I would go to a depression. The same thing. You wake up, akuna, you can't do anything. You want to do this, there are no funds. But you can see them being splashed all over. That's a sad thing, I'm telling you.
All right. But let's also remember that manufacturing is special because of high barriers to entry. Services, anybody can. You can wake up and go and start a kiosk. But not everybody can start a plant to manufacture engines or to manufacture cars or to manufacture TVs. You need a lot of money. And that's why they should be treated different from other sectors.
But you're right. But this, I had a think about 1.5 years at Kenya's position. It's not that skill. I was listening to these people like even Igade, not Gashagua, Igade. Polika. I was listening to people like Vimasha. If you look at the working of Vimasha and that group, a lot of Asians actually in the Kenya Association manufacturing, you see adding value. They do a lot of work. You go to Babadogo here, selling garments, and he was telling me, when then I can produce the same garment for here. But I'm not in money to take to the US because of AGOA, which now had an interesting, I don't know what it was called, a silly clause there that you must import second-hand clothes for you to, and that's what Museveni refused, that's what Kagame refused. So in terms of skills, I hear you, but they are very, very strong people in that who are both sectors there.
Right, let's see how the farmers also are faring on, especially in Europe.
Farmers now.
Yeah, where the French government on Wednesday sent armored vehicles. You may just run the autocue for me, please. The French government on Wednesday sent the armored vehicles. I don't know where my autocue person has gone.
Even as you do that, among our leading industrialists, I think we cannot fail to mention Bill Lay.
Yes.
Sometimes I wish we could use, we have such a powerhouse in terms of knowledge and skill. And some of these guys don't mind giving back to the society. And I'm glad Taita Taveta County government has engaged these services. But I think this aspect of manufacturing the bulk deserves much more attention. For me, two sectors, even as we do agriculture, I would want to take away the segment of value addition, being a focus area and more, but also the services sector. Rwanda, for example, and a number of other countries, Mauritius being the other, and even Singapore, their major growth, even though they are into manufacturing, it was more the services sector. And in terms of rallying resources, mobilizing finances that could capital, the major handicap to small to medium enterprises obviously is capital that would help them manufacture. And I think the gentleman from Korea you are looking for, his name is Professor Chung Kumno.
Yes.
That's topmost nuclear scientist.
Yeah, we used to call like Ruya Muno.
Right.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, back to the story that I wanted, where the French government on Wednesday sent armored vehicles to protect a wholesale food market in Paris in a sign of escalating tensions as farmers blocked highways in France and Belgium and protests spread elsewhere in Europe. Spanish and Italian farmers said they were joining the protest movement that has also hit Germany, aiming to press governments to ease environmental rules and shield them from rising cost and cheap imports. With the summit of EU leaders set for today, the bloc's executive commission made proposals to limit farm imports from Ukraine and did some green regulations. These announcements, however, failed to stop many farmers from Belgium and beyond from driving their tractors into Brussels city centre ahead of a rally planned to coincide with today's leaders' summit. Tractors were seen around the European Parliament while police cordoned off the commission and council buildings. This is the cost of living that is affecting all people now, even in the European sector. You want to comment on this? Look at the tractors and how they're jamming. If people will now say we are going to protest the high cost of living, and the farmers that come with the tractors, or the fertilizers also to barricade the loads as well.
Unfortunately, in Kenya, if you are to protest as farmers, there are no tractors.
There are no tractors.
Tractors. If you ask people in my village when they ever saw a tractor working, they have not seen one.
But maybe perhaps you can, let me put it that way. You see organized protest. These guys are not rooting.
They're not looting.
They're not rooting. And I hope when the Azimio are saying that they are going back to wherever,
Their plans
we get more organized. The professionalism, we are asking the manufacturing to come here. Look at what's happening in Argentina. This guy is hardly 6 months. And the trade unions the other day on it, they did it protesting. So that's the one thing I get, that we can still make our point. And I think we can make our point by being orderly in terms of order. And whoever is going to change what we are going through is a professional institution. It's a Kenya Association of Manufacturers, as we talked the other time.
Sure.
The KEPs of this town.
Correct.
Those are the ones going to change, not running battles on the streets here.
If I can finish,
Yes, please.
from my colleague.
Oh, you want to finish for me? Or you
No, to finish what I was saying.
Okay. Oh, I cut you.
Just finish.
No, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Take it back.
continue.
Take it back.
Okay. I think one of the things that I get from this is our agriculture is not as highly mechanized or dependent technology compared with French. So when we think about subsidized fertilizer to increase production, we must also think about using more technology in agriculture, because it becomes cheaper, more efficient to farm. I think number two, I think the French farmers are justified in protesting cheap imports from Ukraine and elsewhere. I was surprised from Ukraine, because worldwide farmers are subsidized because of the strategic nature of food security. In fact, so for Professor Wainaina and others, if they can remember, there is something we used to call GMR, Guarantee Minimum Return, where farmers were assured of some returns whether there was drought or not. Right. So I think these farmers should be protected, and not just French farmers, but also Kenyan farmers. And then I got some interesting statistics here. The agriculture in France contributes only 1.7% of the economy. Very low percentage. But look at how they are taken seriously. Because food security is one area that my prof here keeps on hammering. We need to be food secure. And you can see French are doing that. So maybe there's something to learn from the French by making sure that our farmers are taken care of. Because without food security, we become very vulnerable to very many other things.
So I saw that agriculture also contributes, was it around 3% to the GDP?
Yes.
And the tax contribution is less than 2%.
Yep.
And I wonder that disparity, if I may get my just figures right, how do we? There's a large contribution, yet there's also very minimum repayment returns as far as taxes are concerned.
I think a better part of it is we don't have as much mechanization. When Professor says Kenyan farmers won't get as many tractors to bring on the roads, I fully agree, because we're still pretty manual. You know, the same old, what our parents, grandparents did 100 years back is still what we're doing. We need more mechanization. But also I was, on the one hand, I was watching our CS for Agriculture talk about increasing the levels. I think it was talking of 800,000 bags of fertilizers or something like that, or millions. I forget whether it was thousands or millions being imported. And in my mind, I was saying, really, should we not be focusing on, I think on this table I've shared, about 5 months ago, a project supported by GIZ Germany called WIDU, where we visited farmers like in Nyeri who produce, Engineer Kenyi produces, for example, about 1,000 organic fertilizers every week, has got capacity to do that. If we only had 10 of them, and we visited another one also in Mwea, while Engineer Kenyi produces from sugarcane waste, in Mwea somebody produces organic fertilizer from rice husks. And also in Laikipia, we saw somebody doing the same from sunflower and soya beans and so on husks. Would we not be looking at maybe 100 of them would produce 100,000 bags per week? Should we not be focusing on local production? And then one specialist was even telling us that, look, the chemical fertilizers we use, the ones we import, are not as effective. Our soils have been degraded so much. Again, challenge to our researchers, particularly in the agricultural economic sector. Yet organic fertilizers, I understand, would help us restore the quality of our soils. So I wanted just to emphasize that part. Let's mechanize more. If we can manufacture even our fertilizers, I would have been so proud if the minister was saying our target is by next year to produce 500,000 organic fertilizers locally.
I agree with you, the issue of my point, but the point being made here is beyond that. The point being made, there is an issue. And there's a way to deal with that issue. Even our farmers without the tractors, we can make our point. Where am I coming from? I'm coming from this narrative that we must go to the street and start rooting. We can make our case very, very soberly and have an impact. I suppose even our farmers are more issues than these farmers as we talk today. You know, if you try to see at the coffee farmers, you try to look at the tea, across the board, we have more issues right and as we talk. And I keep challenging, perhaps we need to be more professional, even how we bring issues out. I do recall the union, the University of Nairobi, had actually gone to court about the deductions.
Was that WASU?
WASU, yeah. Those are the kind of things, instead of us now having pollcard in town, walking on the highway, a way to deal with, and perhaps that's something the government of the day can listen to. And I suppose this is what happened in Europe. They can actually listen to what the farmers are saying. But farming, and perhaps this is an area I did my work in the graduate school. Farming is very, very, very politicized anywhere in developed economy. US is worse. They would rather get the milk and pour it than distort the prices.
But Prof should have added that we should go to court if there are issues, and the court order should be respected.
That one is not working.
In addition, I think I could report back the BAL. I think 3 weeks ago, I think Professor and others challenged some of us. I mentioned we were going to meet with the professionals, top professionals in the medical sector. And among the people we met was President of Kenya Medical Association.
Right.
Yesterday we had also a session with the President of APSEA. APSEA is the umbrella body of professional organs, whether it's the lawyers, the engineers, and all the other professions. And the premise was, I think I relayed the same, particularly when we met with the medical team.
Right.
That, look, instead of leaving it to the politicians as if we are going to protest, maybe government would listen more. Say, if it was the IEK, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, or the Architects Association, the professionals coming out and saying, look, enough is enough. Or ISPAC, the accountants coming out. Because
absolutely.
A lot of these problems we have, there is a professional involved. So I fully agree in terms of protesting.
Thank you.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Or bringing out issues as advocacy and lobbying.
Okay.
Our professionals need to do more.
Now we need maybe to, as we're winding up, also to just prime our viewers on the latest development where Elon Musk wants to augment perfectly healthy people with brain chips so the human race can keep up with artificial... is anyone on the auto queue today? It's not moving, man.
The only thing
it's acting up on me. Or it needs a brain chip. Could we go on in time, please, in the gallery? Elon Musk wants to augment perfectly healthy people with brain chips so that the human race can keep up with artificial intelligence. That is how he has described the ultimate aim of his brain-computer interface company, Neuralink. It will take years of research and successful demonstration of the technology before such an aggressive goal is even remotely possible. In the meantime, the company moved a step closer to a significant scientific advance, one that offers hope to thousands of people with debilitating conditions such as quadriplegia, who could eventually regain lost function. Musk tweeted on Monday that Neuralink had implanted its brain chip in a human for the first time. He said the patient is recovering well, and he suggested that the implant had successfully registered signals from neurons or nerve cells that transmits information to other nerve cells. It is an impressive feat, people in the industry said, not least because the company had to convince the Food and Drug Administration that its technology is safe in order to proceed. It also suggests that the implant is functioning as the company expects it should be, based on its tests in monkeys and pigs. Let's just discuss the informatician. You'll tell us more about this. I think this was one of the movies that you can see where the talk about brain chips was first mooted. And we know right now, even the Manchurian, if you watch the Manchurian movie as well. Let's talk about this latest development. I think this is the first in the human history.
Correct.
And where it's headed with artificial intelligence, briefly, even as we consider to wind up.
The BAL, for me, anything that's innovative and creative, I welcome. But of course, even as we do all that, it must be ethical. And a reassurance maybe I want to give Kenyans is that, and professionals in particular, is that artificial intelligence, I don't see it replacing human beings, professionals, 100% any day soon. So I was reassuring some lawyer friends we met yesterday that even though a lot of the work you do as a lawyer today can be taken over to AI, there are certain things that AI cannot replace in the foreseeable future. So the BAL, I think experiments like this, even in Kenya, we should be doing them. I'm happy. I do know of organizations that are intending, some have already introduced training in AI, in things of Internet of Things, things like Internet of Things or machine language, ML, and all being taught. I think the more, because that's the way the world is moving. For us to remain ahead, we have to go in that direction. As to whether this really right, I really don't know. Maybe the psychologist can advise us better. But I cannot forget to say when we talk of Elon Musk, even though we take him to be South African, I gather he has got Serbian roots. And I'm glad the BAL, I think 2 months ago, a Kenyan was honored by the Serbian government as his major product is Tesla. Huntington Chokwe was declared one of the Tesla ambassadors by Serbia government. I would want again to encourage Kenya government, these unsung Kenyan heroes and heroines, both within and outside the country. Like I know he's busy working to promote tourism from Eastern Europe. I think there's a major tourism conference coming up in Serbia, and I'm glad he's working with the tourism ministry in that regard. I think we need to use more of such ambassadors that we have like Huntington.
Right, and as you can see, the unfathomable pay package, this is where a Delaware judge struck down Musk's multi-million-dollar pay package at Telsa after finding the process for securing its approval deeply flawed, a major setback for the chief executive of the world's most valuable automaker. The decision issued Tuesday in the Delaware Court of Chancery calls into question how Telsa's board plans to compensate Musk, an entrepreneur with an array of other business interests. It also raises questions about whether his ties to his board are too close and puts greater attention on Musk's personal wealth. Musk doesn't accept a salary from Telsa, and while in recent years he has ranked as the world's richest person, most of his assets are tied up in shares of his company. This is touted to be one of the biggest pay package in history. That
it's running into trillions.
To trillions, in American history as well. Huh? Yes, but we're talking about technology finally, even as we're winding up. You wanted to say something?
Yes, I think...
Professor Iraqi.
As a person who spent his earlier life in sciences, when I was in a university graduate, I studied physics. So when you bring in technology here, it excites me. There's a very famous science fiction writer called Arthur C. Clarke. He used to live in Colombia, but I think he was in Sri Lanka. But I think he was British. He once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I think what Tesla is doing and what Musk is doing is actually a prophecy of this gentleman coming true. So I get fascinated by AI, because instead of Musk seeing it as a threat, he's seeing it as an opportunity.
Right.
Why don't you use it to augment our brain and our thinking? I'm hoping very soon we are not going to have to check our students when they are coming for exams whether they have a chip in their brains.
But that's where we're headed to. Yeah.
But it just shows their finite opportunities when it comes to technology. I'm hoping that one of the chips we are going to put in our brains We will make sure that we are not violent, we are not jealous, we are not envious. I
We
hope
are
it will
not-
be able
we
to
are
do
not
that.
corrupt.
Yes, we are not corrupt.
Well, maybe from the religious circle, they can actually be talking about the famous number.
Yes, but I'm also
Is it
hoping
the famous number that
of the
is
beast.
666.
If you can decode it, many people will say, oh, now we're headed there.
End times.
I'm also hoping that in addition to other sick luck, some of you will read a book by Aldous Huxley called The Brave New World.
The Brave New World.
Yes.
Let me write that.
You better read that.
The
But,
Brave New World,
Yeah,
it's by who?
By Aldous Huxley.
You write it for me.
Yeah, I'll write it
You
for
write it
you.
for me after.
And then finally, you can see what's
Fortunately,
happening.
you can Google.
You can see something very fascinating. We are exploring the deep space, the galaxies as big as, I don't know how big they are, but we're also focusing on the most important part of the human being, which is the brain. And what I should be asking is, are we doing that, as my colleague put it? What are we doing our research on in Kenya today?
We've not really mastered the brain. Yeah, but we're having a chip right now to try and see what is in the brain. I think there's some things that they are way beyond
The chip.
the province of humans.
You need the brain to understand the brain.
We need a brain to understand the brain again. We go back to the brain maker. As you can see, also Microsoft rising. Microsoft recorded its highest profit in more than 2 years last quarter, as excitement about artificial intelligence helped power the growing demand for its cloud services. Microsoft's net income rose 33% to $21.9 billion in the 3 months through December. That is the highest quarterly expansion of a technology company since the quarter ended in September 2021. Microsoft has been on a run since last year. It has been the vanguard of current investors or investor enthusiasm that new artificial intelligence-driven products will transform the industry, helping Microsoft to dethrone Apple as a company with the highest market value in the world. It also climbed above $3 trillion in market capitalization last week. Of course, you can read the rest of stories inside the dailies as well. Microsoft is about to just top Apple, right, as one of the leading richest company as well. Briefly, informatician.
The BAL, I think for me the lesson here is that even as we are challenging professionals, we also need to challenge our researchers and academics. Even as they churn out the students, they manufacture knowledge, I think we need to do a lot more research. I was delighted at the BAL during the December homecoming event when the Director General of Cambridge, himself a diasporate, and he did challenge diasporians. Come, we do work. I know we have a pending MOU to do research together with Cambridge, because one of the unsaid things, for example, at one time we got together a consortium of experts in radiation, the effect of 5G on human brain. I think this is something that has got to be multi-sectoral. So in this particular case, we have to have the medics, we have to have the informaticians and other professions. Let's do more research. But if I was to say my final word or later?
Sure. No, we're waiting. Music is up.
My final word about, we already, for example, with Strathmore, looking into what are the products that we can, looking at the problems that we have had in the past with the money markets, for example, the financial sector, that would make diasporas may invest more in the country. And I would want to challenge, particularly our business schools, to do more of this.
Thank you. All right. Professor, your closing remarks.
Mine is very simple. What Musk is doing, what Microsoft is doing, is seeking opportunities. When AI came, most of us were fearing. But you can see what Microsoft is doing. They are seeing them opportunities. So we need to stop living in fear, but focus on opportunities and how we can exploit them. Because one of the ways to grow the economy is to focus on innovation. And unlike land, innovation is limitless. Let's leverage on it.
Indeed. Professor Gituro,
Yeah,
your closing
interesting.
remarks.
Yeah, AI didn't start now. Actually, Cambridge was almost teaching 30 years ago. The whole thing about AI. But my closing remark is back to this. I think all we are saying is great. Innovation is great. We have that, but we are looking for independent, judiciary independent, application of the common law, and enforcement and clean government.
Amen.
That's the bottom line.
Thank you.
How come invest here like Microsoft? You have a clean government.
Thank you. Thank you.
Systems.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for that very insightful conversation on a raft of issues regarding the economy as well, and also beyond. Thank you. I really do appreciate your commitment, at least most of the Thursday, to be here. And Kenyans are greatly educated when it comes to matters economy. Thank you very much for your valued company as well. You've been watching Morning Prime here. So, Connie, don't go away. We'll do this next week. Next week, of course, we'll continue the conversation.